Well, there's no denying that it may be difficult to balance parenthood with professional or social life. A new survey shows that some mothers are forced to choose one over the others.
Yeah, well, according to the Motherly State of Motherhood report, more than half of all working moms out there say they have considered leaving their jobs because of the cost of childcare. And in the past year, the number of stay-at-home moms actually increased by 10%. These are just some of the findings that all point to one thing. Today's moms are parenting without adequate support.
And joining us now to help break down all of this information is Jill Cozio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so Jill, can you tell us what were some of the most interesting highlights from this report?
Well, I think you highlighted one of the most important ones. The most interesting is that nearly 2 times the number of women became stay-at-home mothers this year. It was up from 15% in 2022 to 25% in 2023. We also found that nearly half, 46% of mothers are currently seeking therapy. And the other more interesting one was that 8 in 10 mothers are worried about a recession and are already making preemptive cuts to their budgets.
So I'm curious, how can companies out there that are hearing this or reading this information and data create a work environment where moms want to get back into the workforce?
Well, it's incredibly important, an economic imperative, that we do bring working mothers back into the workforce because they're the most educated cohort. Millennial mothers are more educated than millennial men these days, and the number one thing that would bring them back to the workforce is affordable childcare and flexibility. Working mothers are bearing the brunt of caregiving in this country without a lot of support, and until we see structural changes at the governmental level, we really need to see companies step up to make that happen.
Now, you mentioned just earlier that many women are worried about the recession. So what were some of the other top concerns and worries that keep moms up at night?
So for the first time, we found that mental health was actually the top worry. Again, we find that more mothers are seeking therapy than ever before. Their children are also seeking therapy, and access to that therapy is a challenge. We also found that finances, as I mentioned, with an impending recession, is a top concern. Children's health, marriage and family, and then of course physical health. Stemming from the pandemic, there's still some continuing worries about that.
So I'm curious, the first State of Motherhood report, it was 6 years ago already. Have you seen certain trends emerge over time?
Yes, one that's really exciting, and as I mentioned, makes it an imperative that we have mothers in the workforce, is that as of last year, 47%, nearly half of mothers, were actually the primary breadwinner in their families, earning 50% or more of their household income. We also found that mothers are increasingly willing to cross party lines during elections for candidates that support things that will make their lives better, such as affordable childcare and paid family leave.
And probably mental health on that list as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Jill, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
And you can learn more about the State of Motherhood report by going to the website mother.ly.